Do you know what you hear on stage can make or break how you perform? I've done videos before on in-ear monitoring, the difference between monitors and in-ear mixing, and I've also given a video on the gear that we use. But what does it really take to build out an in-ear monitoring system? I'm Twisty, and in this video we're going to go through the components that make up an in-ear monitoring system so that you and or your band can pull something together to get the best out of your stage presence as you can. Let's check this out. Okay, so let's start going through some of the equipment you think you're going to need. Now, the first thing, obviously, is you're going to need a mixing desk. Now, it could be an analog desk, but the prevalence these days is for a digital mixing desk. The features you're looking for is the balanced XLR inputs for every instrument and vocal that you're going to have. So if you've got 2 vocals, 2 guitars, and some drums, you're going to need mic inputs for each of those. Now, we come out of the Line 6 Helix or the Fender ToneMaster Pro, so we come through and we use, in our case, we're using stereo, so it's 2 mic inputs for each of for the bass and for the guitar. We've got 3 vocals, so it's another 3, and then we've got the drum mics, and that could be anywhere from 2 to 10, depending how you're miking your drums. You may also have keyboards or other electric drums or other things that you need to implement. So again, the number of inputs is going to match the number of instruments or devices you want to connect. The other thing you're looking at then is the monitor sends or the outputs for each band member. So for each band member who wants their own individual mix or in-ear mix, you want to have one output for that band member. So in our case, it's a 3-piece band, so we have 3 outputs. At one point, we had 7 people in a funk band, and so we had 7 outputs we needed. Now, we didn't have 7, so we had to share the mix with a couple. So the singer's got the same mix, for example. But ultimately, the benefit of doing this is that each individual gets their own mix. So that's the basis of what you need. Now, the additional features you're looking for in the device you choose is the ability to do EQ and a mix, EQ and effects for each monitor mix. So for example, I might want reverb on my vocals, or I might want to put some delay on my vocals, but I don't want to hear that on the other people's devices. Because remember, what we're looking for is a personalized in-ear mix, which gives you the benefit of over having the stage wedges, is you can actually hear what you want to hear rather than what someone just wants to send to you. We're also looking at personal control over mixes. So I want to be able to turn volumes up and down in my ear mix rather than having someone else control it. And this is, again, one of the biggest selling points for why you have an in-ear monitoring system, is your personal control over your sound. And another optional is recording capability. The ability to record yourself. I mean, you've got all your instruments going in, you may as well record, right? Now, whether you use this just to play back and see how you've been going, whether you're using this as for rehearsals, or whether you're actually recording a live gig for later recording or publication, that's up to you. But again, the ability to record on the device or from the device is a really cool additional feature. We've seen in one of the other videos I've pushed out, the version that we're using is the Allen Heath QU sub. It's a 16-channel desk, which can be expanded up to 32 channels. It has 10 outputs. 4 of those are stereo. So when they're stereo, they're sharing the same mix, but you can have them go to 4 other devices. So I can have up to 10 devices or in-ears going, but I can only have 8 mixes. It also has a front of house left and right out, so I can also use this for the front of house mix as well. Now, another popular one that, if based on YouTube, is the Behringer X-Air 16 or 32. This is the 16. The advantage this one has is it has its own Wi-Fi module connected to it, so you don't need an additional Wi-Fi router like we do, but we'll go through that at the end of the video. And the one that's becoming the most popular these days is this PreSonus Studio Live 16R. The main reason this has become popular is because it's only one rack unit high. So you can now condense your rack even further than what you were before. So we've got a 4 RU or 4 rack unit space in the Allen Heath, and this is down to 1 rack unit. So for the rack space that you have, or the case you want to carry it in, you can fit more things in rather than just the desk. Now, the next thing that I recommend that you do is you've got a mixing desk, and so you can plug all your things into the front, but then it's only in your device. So what you want now is the ability to split that signal so that one half of it goes to your digital mixing desk and the other half goes to the front of house. So you're getting one instrument going to 2 places. A bit like using a DI pedal with a bass guitar. The digital mixing desk is going to send to the splitter. From the splitter, we're then going to send to the front of house. So what we're now seeing is that the front of house is getting the signal from your instruments. Also, your in-ear mixing desk is getting the same signal from your instruments. So you can mix this independently of what the guy is doing at the front of house to make the audience be able to see what they can, or hear what they can hear. The Nirvana example of this is the Art S8 3-way. So you can see here on the front of the unit, I've got one input and I've got an output. And on the rear of the unit, I've got 2 outputs. So I can actually send that signal to 3 places. Now, the reason I really like this is because rather than, I can pre-wire the back of this into my mixing desk. And then when I rock up to a gig, I plug in the instruments to the front. And then the sound engineer for his front of house mix just comes to the front and picks up a feed from that. Means they don't have to rummage around the back of the rack or the case that I'm carrying everything in. Keeps it all nice and tidy and really simple for lug in, lug out. Makes life easier for the sound engineer as well. Again, the splitter is going to be matching the number of inputs that you have for your audio interface. So if you've got a mixer with 16 channels, then you probably want a splitter with 16 interfaces. Now, it might be 2 lots of 8, or you might decide that you actually only need 8 inputs on your mixer, so therefore you only need a splitter with 8. Again, same as the desk, you're looking for balanced XLR inputs for each instrument, and you're looking for balanced outputs for each input. So you want one to go to the front of house, and you want one to go to your in-ear monitor. The next thing you're looking at is you've got sound going into your mixing desk via the splitter. You got the sound from the splitter going to the front of house, but how are you going to get it from the mixing desk to your ears? You're going to need a transmitter, and you're going to need some form of headphone amp or receiver to go to your in-ears or your headphones or what you're listening through. The 2 components are of a transmitter. Now, this could be as simple as an XLR cable. It could be a wireless transmitter. And then the headphone amp could be a headphone amp. Behringer makes some cheap ones. It could be mono, or it could be stereo, or it could be a wireless receiver. So some examples of these are Shure PS1, the Sennheiser make them, the XVive U4 is what I'm using. I've also got a Mi Pro. So here's the example of the transmitter. The receiver or the headphone amp. This is what goes to the headphones, which goes to my ears. And the bass unit is the transmitter, which is plugged into the front of house. So there you go. So again, just to repeat, we've now got signals all going into the splitter. We've got the splitter sending a signal to the digital mixing desk. We're sending that through to a transmitter, which could be, again, an XLR cable, or it could be the wireless transmitter. And that's going to a headphone amp or a receiver, wireless receiver. If you are a drummer, you probably aren't going to be wandering around the stage. So a wired system, Behringer make a number of really small headphone amps that you can use. I think it's called the PS1. And then you've got your in-ears, of which you should choose. The front of house gets a mix from the splitter, and that goes to the front of house. So you have your own personalized mixing at the back end. The sound engineer gets to do whatever he wants to do for the venue, and it all goes from there. Let's have a quick look at the version that we've got set up. So you can see here that that we've got an 8RU case. We've got the Q sub sitting at the bottom, which takes up 4 rack units. I've then got 2 splitters, 2 8 input splitters. Now these are not the 3-way that I showed before. These are only 2. So the front only has a single input, but on the back, which I'll show you in a second, has the 2 outputs. We hardwire that through to the Allen Heath. There's a gap between the two so we can run the cables from the back through to the front. Down the bottom, you see we've got 3 outputs. So there is the hardwired headphone amp, and then the 2 XVs for the wireless. And then we have a Wi-Fi router or switch at the top. The reason we use that is because the Allen Heath is controlled through an iPad, or the individual mixes are done through Android phone or Apple phone. And so to be able to control that, we need to access it via wireless or Wi-Fi. So we need a Wi-Fi. This, again, is why the Behringer was popular, because it has its own Wi-Fi unit. Allen Heath has just released a new version. I think it's a CX range, which has its own Wi-Fi included in it. So if you're looking now, you may want to look at that as an alternative to this. Now, if we swing around and have a look at the back, again, you've got the wireless Wi-Fi system having up the top, and then you can see I've got hardwired cables running through to the front, leaving the spare one for the front of house engineer to plug his stuff into. We've got this set up so that the drums are on the top 8, and then the guitars and vocals are on the bottom. So I've got a vocal for the drummer, and then the mics and the electric drum kit the users, and also or the trigger system. And then down the bottom we've got 2 bass, 2 guitar, and the 2 vocals. Again, we're coming stereo out of digital modelers using the Helix HX Stomp Live, and the guitarist is using the Fender Toadmaster Pro. So hopefully, as you've seen, the makeup of your in-ear monitoring system can be as complex or as simple as you like. Remember, the core components are the brain, or the mixing desk that you use, a splitter if you want to make it easier to pre-cable that and have the ability for the front of house to plug into it, and which makes you able to roll out your in-ear system self-contained, speeding up your lug-in and your setup time. You need something to transmit out of that system into your ears or to front monitors if you choose to use that, and that can be either wired or wireless. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on how you can do it for yourself, and if you haven't seen it, check this video out.